Hello, welcome to EPG Pathshala program in Linguistics. We are at Module 3 of the course Introduction to Phonetics and Phonology. In Module 1 of the present course, we saw how conventional orthography fails to meet the need of one-to-one correspondence between symbols and sounds. This need, we saw, has been fulfilled by the International Phonetic Alphabet. We thus introduce ourselves to the International Phonetic Alphabet in this module. We take a look at the chart in great detail and then split it into parts and look at the various features of the IPA that we need to take into account in learning the use of the IPA. Now, for a brief history of the IPA chart, you can go to the link given here on your slide. This is from the Wikipedia. Take a look at the chart as a whole. In brief, the story goes like this. Towards the end of the 19th century, teachers of French and English faced difficulty in teaching one language to the speakers of the other. Thus, English being taught to the learners of French. Because of a shared vocabulary and shared spellings, it was often felt difficult by these teachers to teach the pronunciation of the other language. So French speaker, for example, when he came across a word like experiment, he would pronounce it in the French way rather than the English way. This created considerable difficulty, which was felt to be on account of the orthography. And thus, the teachers of French and English proposed to have a system of symbols where such a problem would not arise. And thus the International Phonetic Alphabet came into being. It came to have a very large membership gradually in the 20th century. Daniel Jones emerged as an important contributor to the International Phonetic Alphabet. We have the same short name for the initials for both the International Phonetic Association as well as the International Phonetic Alphabet. The International Phonetic Association now holds meetings every now and then, usually once in 5 years, to review the applicability of the chart to the sounds of different languages. As it happens, as more and more languages are coming to be studied by linguists and more new sounds are emerging, the International Phonetic Alphabet is sort of proposes to take account of all those new features. And thus, the alphabet is not something which is fixed and complete. It is a part of a general process of trying to meet the goals of the International Phonetic Association to have symbols which take into account all the speech sounds of our world languages. Now let's go to the chart. The International Phonetic Alphabet chart has some very important features that must be kept in mind in reading it. There are general features of the IPA chart and there are specific features of the charts of consonants, vowels, etc. The general features of the IPA chart. The goal of IPA is to represent those features of speech that are linguistically relevant by using letters, for example, P, T, K, A, E, etc., and diacritic features. The diacritic features or marks are of three kinds, or rather of three types. Those which are placed above a letter, those which are placed below a letter, and those which are placed within a letter or in the middle of a letter. If a diacritic mark is placed below a letter, it's called a subscript. If it is placed above a letter, it is called a superscript. If it is placed in the middle of a letter, it is called an inscript. You have the examples for each of them in the e-text of this module. Take a close look at them. For example, look at the variants of the letter A. There are two different shapes of the small letter A. One of them is used in printed texts with conventional spelling, while the other is close to the one used more commonly in handwritten texts. Yet the two symbols signify different sounds. One of them is an unrounded low central vowel, while the other is an unrounded low back vowel. As you go through the list of the symbols in the IPA chart for vowels, you will discover some other letter symbols related to the letter A. For example, the two letters, an inverted back vowel letter and an inverted central vowel letter. This practice has been guided mainly by the goal to confine the symbols to the Roman symbols. So the IPA prefers to restrict itself to the Roman symbols amongst all the various orthographies. Occasionally Greek symbols are also used. For example, the theta, the beta symbols for different speech sounds, and also for features of speech sounds such as strong and weak articulation, etc., etc. Now, for strong and weak articulation, silent articulation, mouthing, some of these features which are discussed in psycholinguistics, neurolinguistics, for some of them the IPA has an extended IPA section. So we have the main IPA alphabet with symbols and diacritics, and then we also have extended IPA where the various important, but although may not be grammatically important, but they are important in communication, in speech, in explaining phenomena related to language acquisition, and so on. For them, we have an extended IPA. Now, in addition to the letters and diacritic marks, there are also marks for the prosodic features such as length, stress, tone, and intonation. Take a look at the prosodic features here. Now, a note of caution for handwritten symbols. Unless you are careful, you might not notice the difference in the shape and size of the symbols, as we saw for the vowel symbols. The letter G, for example, as it is typed, is not a symbol. Instead, there is another form of letter G, which is a phonetic symbol. Similar is the case with some other symbols like the letter F, only the printed form of the letter F is used as a phonetic symbol, but not anything that comes close to the handwritten symbol. So, and again, some of the symbols have the same shape. So one shape but two sizes, and the two stand for two different sounds. Thus we have a symbol for a vowel and a symbol for a consonant, and they have the same shape. Now let us turn to the chart for the consonants. There are three charts for consonants: for pulmonic consonants, for non-pulmonic consonants, and for co-articulated consonants. The difference between pulmonic and non-pulmonic consonants, as the term suggests, lies in the source of the air stream in producing them. Pulmonic sounds are produced with the air coming out from the lungs, and non-pulmonic sounds are those which are produced from the air from the rest of the vocal tract. For example, there are velaric sounds which are produced by manipulating the velum, the soft palate. The glottalic sounds which are produced by trapping the air between the vocal cords and the upper part of the mouth, the velum. And thus all those speech sounds are called non-pulmonic sounds. To give an instance, for example, clicks like this is a non-pulmonic sound compared to b, a, k, s, etc. Similarly, some languages like Sandhi, for example, have a non-pulmonic sound like b, b, in which if you pay close attention to the throat, you will notice that the Adam's apple here, behind which lie the vocal cords, it goes down like b, compared to b, where no such change takes place. So we have thus three different types of sounds produced by three different types of airstream. Now the rows in the pulmonic consonant charts are mainly, they represent the manners of speech. So we have different manners of producing consonants, such as plosive, fricative, nasal, etc. And then we have columns on the chart. The columns stand for different places where the consonants are produced in the vocal tract. So there are then two parameters: the rows, which stand for manners, and the columns, which stand for places of articulation. There is a convention which is followed in presenting the symbols in the same slot, and the convention is that if at the same place and in the same manner you have two sounds produced, one is voiceless and the other is voiced, then the voiceless sound is placed on the left in the slot and the voiced sound is placed on the right in the slot. For each place of articulation we have a different column, except for three places of articulation which are all put into one, namely dental, alveolar and post-alveolar. What is the reason that we have three places of articulation put in the same column? The reason is that in most languages we do not find distinctive sounds which belong to the three places. So in most languages, if you have a th, then you don't have a dental th, you don't have an alveolar t. You either have an alveolar t or a dental th, or you have a post-alveolar sound. Most other sounds are not easy to distinguish whether they are dental or alveolar. If you produce a dental fricative as an alveolar fricative, then there is nothing much of consequence that for the language concerned. So because of the general tendency for languages not to distinguish speech sounds which belong to the three different places, the IPA merges them into one. However, it's interesting to note that we have at least one Indian language where at least two of the places are distinguished, namely Malayalam. So Malayalam has both a dental t and an alveolar t, and a dental n and an alveolar n. Malayalam is one of those languages where the general pattern of the occurrence of these three sounds is not observed. Now to the vowels. In the vowel chart we noticed two things. One, that the vowel chart deals mainly with sounds which are called monophthongs, that is, vowels which are of unchanging quality. So these are examples of these are vowels like E or A or O. These are the vowels which are included in the vowel chart. Vowels which are called diphthongs or vowels of unchanging quality are not included in the vowel chart, such as I, or as A in gate, or ow in how. Now these vowels are not included. What's the reason for not including them? The reason is that we assume that diphthongs actually are change of vowels from one monophthongal position to the other monophthongal position. So we need not include charts for diphthongs. The second point is that the chart has two main axes, the vertical axis and the horizontal axis. The vertical axis is mapped by vowel height, while the horizontal axis is mapped by vowel backness. We thus have four main degrees of height: close, close mid, close open, and open. Four main degrees of height are included in the chart. As the term suggests, the close vowels are those in the production of which the tongue and the jaw are brought very close to the upper roof of the mouth. And the open vowels are those where the tongue and jaw are separated maximally. You cannot go below a certain point, such as when you say ah, that's the limit. When you say e, that's the limit. If you go beyond e, then you will be producing not a vowel but a consonant, such as is. You will be producing a z, a fricative. So essentially there are four main degrees of height around which vowels of different languages are centered. And then we have three main points on backness: the front vowels, central vowels, and back vowels. Such a vowel chart actually is a vowel chart of ideal vowels. They not necessarily actual vowels in different languages, but it is a useful reference point for actual vowels in different languages. We will see how the vowels in languages, the actually occurring vowels in languages, can be described in relation to the IPA vowel chart. For an illustration of the different degrees of vowel height, take a look at the slide showing the tongue being raised at different degrees for the front vowels e, a, and a. So you have, as you say a, the point shows that the tongue is held at that particular position, and as you go up, the tongue keeps moving towards the upper roof of the mouth. And the same is the case for frontness and backness. The front vowels are those in the production of which the front of the tongue is raised, and back vowels are those in the production of which the back vowels are raised. For vowels, in addition to the two parameters, there is a third parameter which is also important. The third parameter is almost predictable for most sounds in most languages. For example, the front vowels e, a, tend to be unrounded. That means the lips are spread or held in a neutral position. But in the production of the back vowels, in most languages, the back vowels are rounded vowels. That means in the production of which the lips protrude and take position for producing a vowel as rounded vowels, such as oo, o, o, etc. However, we still need to symbols for different vowels which use rounding and unrounding in an unpredictable manner in the way in which we have described. Thus, there are languages such as French and German in which front vowels, which are usually unrounded, get rounded. And there are languages such as Tamil in which Tamil and Malayalam in which the back vowels, which are usually rounded, can be unrounded. Thus, you will be familiar with the name of a well-known dramatist. His name was Goethe, and in pronouncing the name of this dramatist, the vowel involved, the first vowel, namely Ö, is a vowel which is a front vowel but said with lip rounding. So you say A, but with lips rounded, you produce an Ö. Now, if we take a look at the cardinal vowel chart, or the IPA vowel chart, you will notice that for each point on the different axes, you have two symbols. The convention here is that the symbol on the left of a point is unrounded and the symbol on the right of a point is rounded. That's how we interpret the vowel chart. You can go to a very useful link that is given here in the next slide, in which these various symbols, consonants and vowels, are all presented for use for practice. And so as you turn your cursor onto them and click on them, you can hear them and you can practice producing those vowels. In this course, you need to do that more frequently. So we have looked at the segmental features, both consonants and vowels. I hope you have had time to practice the pronunciation of these by going to the web link. We now turn to suprasegmentals. Now, the symbols representing the prosodic features or suprasegmental features at the word and the sentence level are the following. At the word level, we have mainly 4 types of features. 1, the syllable break, symbolized by a dot. 2, length, symbolized by a colon, 2 dots. 3, word stress, symbolized by a bar. There are 2 types of word stress, the primary and secondary. The primary word stress is symbolized by a superscript, and a secondary word stress is symbolized by a subscript. In addition, we have symbols for tone in tonal languages. Tones are of 2 types. These are registered tones or level tones and contour tones. The registered tones or level tones are produced with the F0 at a consistent level. So we have a low registered tone, level tone, or a high level tone. And then we have contour tones which take different contours from high to low, low to high, or high to low to high. Languages seem to be divided on the basis of whether they use registered tones or contour tones. The literature tells us that most African languages are contour tone languages and most Indic Tibeto-Burman languages are level tone languages, but on close examination that doesn't seem to be quite correct. Some languages like Thado, a Tibeto-Burman language spoken in Nagaland, has both registered tones and contour tones. At the sentence level, we have a brief classification of intonational breaks and processes. So there are 2 main types of phonetic transcription, known as broad transcription and narrow transcription. Broad transcription is aimed at representing the pronunciations of words in terms of the main speech sounds that play a role in distinguishing words. Thus the word cap, C-A-P, cap in English may be pronounced in different ways by Indian speakers, such as cap, 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 etc. Note that all these variants are not needed in a pronouncing dictionary. All these variants still give you the same word cap. In such a case, when the differences in the pronunciation of words do not play an important role in identifying the meanings of words, we use broad transcription. Broad phonetic transcription, containing the main contrastive sounds of languages, in other words, is used in pronouncing dictionaries and is enclosed in slanted lines. Narrow transcription aims at representing the pronunciations of words and sentences as closely as possible to the way in which they are articulated. This way of transcription is specially suited to focus on the details of idiolectal or dialectal peculiarities. For example, cap, 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 etc. may represent the pronunciations of different communities or speakers at different educational backgrounds, etc. Now, all these variant pronunciations do not find entry in a pronouncing dictionary, as the extent of variation is unlimited. So, narrow phonetic transcription is aimed at including all the range of variation in producing sounds, and broad phonetic transcription aims at selecting those sounds which help us to distinguish words. That's the basic difference between broad phonetic transcription and narrow phonetic transcription. We have now come to the close of this module. We have tried to introduce ourselves to the use of the International Phonetic Alphabet. I hope you will be able to go to the link suggested in order to go through the history of the development of the IPA chart, and also to be familiar with the goals and objectives of the IPA, by which we mean the International Phonetic Association. We have looked at the general and the specific features of the IPA chart. I hope you take into account all those features and learn to practice the use of these symbols in transcribing words in languages that are familiar to you, and also languages that are not familiar to you. It is best to be familiar with these features one after another and practice for a long time, preferably for the entire period of your semester. Unless you do that, you will not be able to have a certain proficiency in their use, and the proficiency in the use of the IPA is an urgent need of the time. This is the writing system of linguists today. Thank you very much.